Good morning, Forest of Women. I am no longer in my little cabin. The Wi-Fi blew up in the storm. In England, we had quite a storm, and it's just calming down, which is beautiful. And it's a little delay in this video because I was not very well, and now I'm much better. And because it's about ceremony, felt important that I was fully embodied. And I wanted to mention something that might resonate to some of you. I'd love to know how it is or not resonating with some of you. But since we started this project of this prayer, I would call it, of weaving women back into matter with the Treesisters, and since the beginning of this whole vision in June 2018, when I walked in the forest here in Devon, the world, our world, has changed a lot. And I feel the thinning since maybe last week or the week before. I feel the thinning of the connection of all the forests and the mycelium, and each extinct species taking with them a very important thread of the frame of the web of life, and the rapidity of our losses and is so fast, going faster and faster and faster. And I'm feeling the strain that the trees and the forest being so far apart now, and the cities being so big, creating such a big gap of connection. So I feel a lot of grief about this, and as often, if we stay long enough with grief and let her move us through love again, there is some new way of seeing, and then action is what can truly enlivens the soul. So I'm in that place of still feeling immense grief for everything really that I love and we're losing, and the rapidity of it. And yet within it, I also see that the work we're doing is even more, it matters even more than when we started this whole collaboration between Souland and Treesisters, which is the invisible work we're doing, the work of art as prayer, can and is mending and tending to the tearing of the fabric of life. I really feel it. And the last two that some of you here have participated in, the last two ceremonies we did, the 24 hours singing for the ash tree on the 2nd of February, and then after the Australia fires, we gathered on the Earth Wisdom Tenders group. We gathered for 30 days and nights, weaving a cloth, an invisible and a visible within each other cloth to place on the burned skin of a mother. See, both of them, why I'm talking about both of them in their way are about weaving, and they are about spinning thread from dark matter, from dark times, and then after spinning with love, with our fierce love, our determination to not stop loving, to not stop tending and mending, which women have done, as far as I've read and know in my bones. So there's a little bit of context, or a little bit of me within that, of as your guide for now until the 8th of March, and who knows what relationship we will carry on with. That this is where my attention is. That this sort of gathering really matters. Really, really matters. So, ceremony part of weaving women back into matter. Gratitude. I always start my ceremonies with gratitude, with the basket full, with abundance. There is always something, always someone, always a moment that we can be grateful for. And it's a radical thing. It's a radical thing to start any conversation with another, whether it's human or river or tree, by what I'm grateful for today. And then the basket being full of gifts and praise and food for the birds and song, poetry, or a flower, whatever feeds the soul of that place. So to start with a basket full of gratitude and offerings and gifts is how I start ceremonies. So whatever place you're going to be weaving, if you can, I would go there and do that and present yourself. I often present myself with my full name, so I carry with me the well and wise ancestors of both my mother and my father behind me, who have my back. And so that takes us to the next part, which is who you're going with. Who is your support system? Who are your allies? We all have well and wise ancestors, whether you've worked with them or not, even if you have to go back 10,000 years. Let's imagine that these were well and wise and supported by a strong and sacred connection with the living world, which is really what ceremony is how do we mend our disconnection with the living world? How do we create an animist living? How do we re-enter our rightful place within the web? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful journey. So we make offerings, we introduce ourselves, we come with the allies and all the well and wise ancestors, and we pause our inquiry, our prayer, our not intention. It's not the same. So our inquiry or our longing, which is really the language of soul moving through us. It's a beautiful thing to check your longings, because it takes you closer to Anima Mundi and the soul of our earth, and how she is so longing herself for us to hear her. So that's the beginning, and to feel whether this is the right place. Feel your yes, feel your no. The yes is often a peace, a quietness, an opening, and a no might feel like a contraction. You know how it is. I'm sure you know how it is. Or at least apprenticing to it. And practice your yes and no's, and the yes and no's of places and beings. It's a very beautiful practice. So we move away from colonization and that grabbing of I want to do it there, so I will. to, I feel called to this place. Let me bring offerings. Let me sit and listen to whether this is the right place for that place, whether I am the right person for that place at the time. Beautiful reciprocity of relationship, another kind of weaving. So this is the beginning. And when you gather your threads and your yarn and your cords and whatever you're going to use to weave, these are also alive. Everything is alive. So it takes it takes to slow down, although it's overwhelming, all these living beings everywhere who long for attention and tenderness and yeah. And then when you start your weaving, to place your prayer for yourself, prayer for sisterhood, prayer for your relationship to the living world, our earth, to write it down and place it in front of the tree, if that's where you're going to be weaving, or around a pot with a plant. I recommend some other living plant. They love that when we come to them. They miss us when we see them as objects or resources. They are relatives, and like any relatives, they like to be witnessed and cared for. So you place your prayers and you call all the allies, and you feel the aliveness of our earth and everything else, everything. Whether it's a chair, I'm looking at those wooden chairs, really feel the forest. Really feel the forest, you know? Looking at my paper, really feeling the forest. Yeah, beautiful. And if you have wool, really feel the sheep and their offering and all that. So when you start weaving, there's maybe a tingling in your arms and hands and feet and legs and hips. And the aliveness increases and deepens. Separation diminish in the weaving. So I'm going to go towards the end, because there will be 2 Q&As where I can be guided by your question. I don't want this video to be too long. The end, when you finish your piece, a beautiful thing to do is to be blessed by the soil, to lay down on the soil, to sprinkle it with sacred water and ash if you have, and to let the wind caress this beautiful belt of deep prayer and mending and mattering and singing and crying and longing. And so the soil touches, the sun touches, the wind touches, the water touches. Really let all these beings bless your belt before you wear it. Then when you wear it, if you're with a loved woman, you might do a beautiful dance or 3 and feel the sisterhood around your hips. And then what I do is I go back to the place and make more offerings and tell that place or that tree or that river or that city, tell them about your story, what happened for you. They love listening to our stories. And then, if you can, just listen to their response. And this in this interaction, both are transformed. Both are transformed. And this to me is a really important next part of being a sacred activist or soul activist, is to, through this sort of ceremonies and rituals and weaving, is to mend the tearing of the mycelium and the forest and to become a human forest, and to create much beauty, much generosity and abundance, and to start and finish whatever you do with gratitude. So the suffering can be held within the bank of the river. I hope this makes sense and fed your soul a little or much. Tell me on the response thing on the nest how it landed for you. And I look forward to seeing you live next Wednesday with Kathleen on the 26th, and then the week after. And then we're almost there. And lastly, I wanted to remind you that the International Women's Day started in 1911, and that 1 million men and women mobilized. And that was 1911. So I think we can find 10 million women to weave a belt for the earth. Much gratitude and love, and speak soon. And my name is Azul-Valérie Thomé from Souland, souland.org. Much love.